Hello, hello, and welcome to another Black Diamond Lounge where we have raw, powerful conversations with visionaries, innovators, disruptors who are redefining success, exploring energetics, consciousness, and crafting their destiny legacy. So today's session's guest is Chris Rodman, and I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, delighted and excited to be here as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful conversation. I know it. I would love for you first, for those of my audience who don't know you, just to tell us a little bit about your great work in the world.
Sure. Well, kind of falls under the umbrella of the Rise and Shine Academy with the subtext of Adventures in Awakening. And I'm a big fan of adventure, and I've been deeply compelled to pursue what Joseph Campbell touched in on as the hero's journey. And yeah, that's taken shape in a lot of different ways for me. Shall I continue to riff on?
Yeah, I would love, because and we were just talking before this, like the reason why I love doing the Black Diamond Lounge and bringing so many different, like, cross-disciplinary, incredible, multifaceted humans like yourself is there's always a journey there that is so powerful, and the fact that your work is really activated by the hero's journey unto itself. So I'd love to hear, what does that look like? What are the facets of the work? And then if you could go into a little bit of your story that really brought you to this moment, because there's always a story. There's always a hero's journey in that experience. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, each of us is in it and on it in our own way. And yeah, for me, it's like making that journey back home into our true nature. The return of the prodigal son, or remembering who we are. And so for me, I was raised Catholic, and so told what to believe, and lots of dogma, and this is how it works, and elements of conditionality, I suppose, as far as this is what you must do to get to heaven, and this is what you must do to avoid eternal damnation, and lots of just blindly going through the steps, so to speak. And I started to question that as I was getting towards the end of high school, and was not noticing any communion with the divine, so to speak, as through all the church going and so on and so forth. And so I turned to science and was affirming various spiritual principles through that. One of the ones that I remember dawning on me initially was like the law of conservation of energy. Real simply, whatever it is that's animating this form at this point, it's neither created nor destroyed, but will move on to some other form. And that gave me some solace about soul, perhaps. And then quantum mechanics, I started looking into the farthest reaches and studying entanglement and superposition, and collapsing of the wave function, so to speak, through observation. And then another key piece, I was a huge dinosaur fan as a kid. I thought I was going to be a paleontologist, actually.
Are you kidding me? Can we? So did I, actually. I can't believe we're just uncovering this now. Wow. Synchronicity. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, when Jurassic Park came out, I was elated. I think that was like 1996. And
yeah.
While the movie was great, the book is what really had a huge impact on me. Michael Crichton is an absolute genius. And in that book, he touched on a concept known as chaos theory. Relates to sensitivity to initial conditions, like if a butterfly flaps its wings in Nelson, it's going to cause a hurricane in North Carolina, something like that.
Yeah.
That might be a little too real, but but also out of that is this idea of order out of chaos, and the self-organizing principle that gives form to life, in a sense, you could say. And fractal geometry came out of that. And yeah, so that was influential. And then went on to study kinesiology. So I got a Bachelor of Sciences in kines. I figured if I was gonna, I was getting the nudge to go do the ivory tower, whatever post-secondary education thing. And I thought, well, I've got a body. Everyone else has got a body. I was into fitness and nutrition, and so I went for that. And continued the scientific pursuits, which wrapped around from and through the quantum mechanics into the nature of the mind being the most influential facet of our being that can shape our experience of reality. And I ended up sitting Vipassana courses, these 10-day silent meditation retreats, and learned a whole ton about the science of mind and matter and what it takes to kind of, well, firstly, the first 3 days, it's a discovery around what a frickin' turbulent mind that we have, and there's this, what it means to develop strength and stillness and presence is a beautiful journey. And so that was an influential piece. And I was pursuing and exploring psychedelics recreationally, largely psilocybin and ganja. I had a big stretch with marijuana, which had its light side and its shadow side. But then in 2010, I encountered ayahuasca for the first time, and sat with the Santo Daime in Vancouver. That was my first experience, which is interesting. It was quite a religious context that's held around that flavor of the ayahuasca work. And after that, I knew I was going to South America. And at the time, I was also working as a wildfire crew leader, and that's where my heart of adventure was drawn to. If I'm going to be working, why not be out in the woods pursuing this magnificent force of nature? And I just really loved that. And so I had a good wildfire season. After university, 2011, made my way down to South America. Again, with the thread of adventure, I realized I wanted a motorcycle, so I bought one in Buenos Aires, and I drove it from there up to Ecuador over 5 months, which was just glorious. Absolutely. Yeah. So many stories in there, but ultimately made my way to the Sacred Valley. And I had a great reference from someone in Nelson. They said, go check out Diego Palma in the Sacred Valley tribe. And he had curated a beautiful tradition form of ceremony that just resonated with me in a big way. And I went through a whole ton of growth in the month that I was there, and lots of healing and transformation. I found my voice, and was able to continue pursuing that work because there was a bridge between the Sacred Valley and Nelson. And kind of wind it back a bit, actually. While I was still in university, I was working with this coach. His name's John McMullen, and he's got a webpage called Journeys of Wisdom. He's a profound source of wisdom, really. He's in his 80s. He foreshadowed my encounter with ayahuasca. He did this little muscle testing thing, and he's like, oh, you're not 25. I was like, no. He's like, when you're 25, you're going to find love. And everybody's like, oh, he's going to find love. And I was like, all right, well, that could mean so many things. And it was in that year, 2010, I turned 25, and I met ayahuasca, which ended up introducing me to my wife several months later. And we got an 8-year-old child, and we're living in the mountains of the Kootenays, a little town called Nelson. So I came back. I was able to keep doing the work. The last 8 years I've been sitting dieta. And really, we took our time in terms of opening the doors for facilitation. I could see that there was a likely direction. I didn't want to get hung up in my mind about doing that, but it came to the point after numerous dietas as just the next integrative step. So then, as I reflect upon who am I to be in service to in order to have the greatest impact with this work, what came to me was to work with visionary leaders, with CEOs, with executive teams, blockchain pioneers. I'd love to avail this work to those cats. Working on decentralization and autonomy of our currency, so to speak. And so if we can hold space for the illumination of those hearts and minds, I think the ripple effect of what they would do from their influential and resource positions would be impactful. And then to create a scholarship fund for those who might not be able to afford the experiences is important to me. And doing it somewhat differently. The psychedelic renaissance, it's in full bloom in a lot of respects. It's the Wild West. And there's no shortage of places where you can go on retreat. Retreat is a funny word, depending on how you contextualize it.
Yes, it is. I've got some thoughts, but
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. May I ask? There's so many things coming up around this, and really a few things actually come to mind, and just like the importance of unlocking this next level self-awareness. I always bring things to a mycelial network and how we relate to each other. Especially those in leadership positions, those who are visionary, who are very multidimensional in many ways, the importance at this very interesting time in the world that we're, happen to land on this conversation this week, but the importance of that in this time in the world for us to really look at a different way of seeing ourselves and seeing our place within humanity. And I almost want to ask a kind of mainstream question, which is like, obviously you believe it's important, but to speak to the importance of visionaries accessing and expanding in this way in order to make that ripple effect that we're talking about. So I'd love to hear more of your thoughts around that.
Sure. Well, I feel like we're at a point in time where we're really evolving through and out of the ethos of competition, which is kind of born from the illusion of separation, like me as a separate something relative to everything else.
Yeah.
And that journey of awakening is coming into the remembrance and realization of our interconnectedness. Granted, we are interdependent. There's no separation from the non-dual lens, and so from that comes this ethos of cooperation and collaboration and mutual support, and honoring each of the aspects of ourself that we witness in each other as being instruments that have their song to play in the grand orchestra of this miraculous unfolding that is existence.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Something like
that. Yeah. And I'm also really curious because moving through and like your own journey with ayahuasca and and I love it because you're talking about the adventure. So you having the outer adventure and the inner adventure, and maybe not necessarily separating the two, but those experiences, and also something that is, utilizing a lot of these, I'll call them, plant medicine, ancient technology, ancient futuristic technology, something that is so sacred. And I think a lot of those who are, I want to say, spiritually, metaphysically connected, curious, expanding in this way, and kind of balancing this idea of visionaries so often, I know, like with my clients and in particular as well, and myself, right, because it's all just a reflection, is this idea of actually ambition, creating something, having this like fire, very high performance. Sometimes it can be a shadow, right? Go, go, go. And there's a lot more underneath, but being able to, in a way, healthily balance the ambition and the desire and the extreme drive with then something the sacredness and the slowness of these medicines, what they have to teach us, and still keep the reverence for both, not making one or the other wrong. Am I making sense here? Like, trying to formulate a question around that, because I think so many visionaries who are spiritual, let's just say, judge their ambition or their desire for, we'll say, power, but really it's an inner sovereignty. This isn't like wielding power over someone else, but also to make an impact, and yet use things that are often, you need to be initiated. Right? There's a process. It isn't just like I'm open to everything, I'm able to use everything or have this level of access to this knowledge now. And it's a very interesting little back and forth that I'm just interested in, like, whatever I just said, if something like, comes out to inspire you to speak on a specific topic, like whatever came from that. But that just was really present when I'm thinking, like, we often judge this. We often judge our ambition and that spirituality. And I think we're coming to a point where we really don't have to, but there are these kind of initiations and steps and reverence that we need to have for that path.
Sure. Yeah, gotcha. A few things coming up for me there. Well, I like to refer to psychedelics as the pantheon of entheogens, and I feel blessed. While ayahuasca has been a primary source of influence for me,
Yeah.
we work as well with Wachuma, and
Mm-hmm.
TMT really falls into the sacrament realm pretty nicely. But what these medicines, these teachers, these spirits, I think are pointing towards for us is having our actions be born from a place of attunement to the moment. And from Buddhism, there's this concept of right effort, and that it's just a practice of finding that balance of right effort in terms of when we're in a space of taking action, or when we're in a space of cultivating the stillness, where we then can receive the clarity about how we are then to proceed, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Just receiving that inspiration from the moment, and getting outside of our idea of how we think it should be, or whatever. The mind is so quick to take over the show if we're not diligent and aware around. The mind is there to serve the heart, in a sense. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Powerful. Yes. This could be a many-hour conversation around this. We just went deep into that. But I think that's so important, because I think that there are visionaries out there who are desiring that kind of depth, that kind of connection, and making an impact that not only, because my work actually is extremely individual, but also with the understanding that the individual is a part of this mycelial network, that is a part of this ecology. And when we make decisions in a way that are, whether it's a high stakes decision or a personal decision, it doesn't matter. When we're making those decisions in a way that are not cognizant of our place and the true impact, right, that it brings to the world. There's so much that goes along with that if you're in any kind of leadership position. So I love just honoring the work that you do, because I believe that we really need this level of consciousness and awareness and understanding, and that journey, like going back to the hero's journey, it is not always a simple one. It is not always like, oh, I see where the dragon is and I can slay it. Sometimes we are not unsure what is the shadow and what is not the shadow, right? And like having guides along that journey and teachers in varying forms is so, I want to say, crucial and important. But I'd love to hear, in your journey of navigating this into, and I want to hear a little bit more about Rise and Shine Academy as well. In creating that, what have been some of the bigger challenges for you as someone who is leading this, and experiencing your own journey at the same time?
Sure. Well, that's the beauty of it, is I get to be in, the midst of my own journey as well as I am, opening the way for others as well. And the Rise and Shine Academy is really just getting its wings. We're taking off, and it was interesting choosing the word academy. That's all very much in development as well. But when I look deeper into it, as I really love etymology and word origins, academy is actually the name of the garden where Plato gave his philosophical discourses. And if you dig into it a little deeper, it's the name of a mythological hero from the Greek mythologies, whose role was a little bit unremarkable. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but he's a character there. But also the name apparently means silent district, which I just love, because I'm really lead us into that still point and allow the mind to just rest, and for our lives to be, orchestrated, effortlessly by the greater intelligence, perhaps, that we don't say. And so I believe each of us can really flourish and thrive in doing and giving ourselves to what we love. And for me, in relationship to the Rise and Shine Academy and that thread of adventures and awakening, I love riding motorcycles in amazing places. I love to climb mountains and reach the peaks and surf, and be in the elements. And I'd want to cook some food on a volcano at some point down the line here.
Yeah.
And there's some pilgrimages in the Sacred Valley, where we can hop onto some bikes and take a rip up to the base of this Maha Apu. Apu is the name of sacred mountain in the Andean cosmology. And you can do a little pilgrimage up to this place, working with Wachuma. There's a hot spring at the base there. So, and interweaving that into the various geographic locations around this beautiful earth. Maybe it's backcountry skiing up here in the Kootenays, and essentially, interweaving that with the transformative experiences with the entheogens, with the plants, and then doing this on terms of an immersion, where it's 5 months, 7 months, 12 months, where a person sinks into this journey that's going to lead them on the other side irrevocably changed. And often the dance of working with these entheogens can be a little bit of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I know there's a huge expansiveness that is followed by some element of contraction. But if we were immersed in a holding throughout, that's going to really help. Integration coaching is getting recognized more and more as a valuable aspect to this work. But if we had some good prep work in the lead up, followed by the integration coaching, but also interweaving masterminding and like holding space for these experiences to emerge innovation and creative solutions and inspirations towards how it is we want to serve in our businesses, in our leadership, in our way of being, as far as contributing to a more beautiful world, jam-packed with love, harmony, and beauty.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And just, one last thing to say is loving the fact that there's the spaciousness for that, because I think that a lot of, especially a high performance, high powered visionary, like you feel this urge to do the thing, get the thing done. You understand that time is of the essence, and also being supported in a long-term experience means, like you said, to be able to go through. Sometimes we get this hit of, what is it, the dopamine, or just you have the result and you're there and you're in it, and then there's this other aspect of, we have to go through some of those dips and some of that navigational process that happens after we, experience some of the really beautiful initial results. And then what does that mean? And what does that look like? And how do we integrate that? And how do we accept that as part of the process? And then how do we, rise again? It's this cyclical nature. It allows that to really happen in that experience. So, just beautiful, beautiful offerings. And just a last question: where can people find you if they want to connect with you? Of course, anyone who is watching live or in the replay, please feel free to comment. We'll come back and answer your questions if you have them, and I'll leave all the information in the comments below. And of course, connect with Chris on LinkedIn. But where else can we find you and your work?
At Rising into Brilliance, that would be my Instagram handle. And the webpage is yet to develop. In some regards, there's an element of exclusivity. This isn't for everybody. I want to be really clear. Like, pretty solid intake process around who we're going to bring into the academy. And LinkedIn works great. And just stay tuned for ongoing updates. And if the curiosity is there, reach out and let's have a chat. And I think one final piece to touch in on is with the immersions also, that I'm not going to be holding this all myself. I really think it's going to be valuable to bring in guest collaborators such as the Black Diamond approach and Wondrous Lauren.
An honor. It would be an honor. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. So glad to have you here, Chris. Thank you so much for this wonderful, insightful conversation. And we'll put all of those in the links below. And I hope you guys reach out to Chris. It's such a great conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ciao.